We're in for a wild night.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 96 of Born to be Wild, a Wild exclusive Hearthstone podcast where we have fun hanging out with friends, talking about the Wild format of Hearthstone and spotlighting members of the Wild community. I'm your host, as always, Nate Wolf, joining you today from the Portland, Oregon area. I'm really excited to be back. I think that the last 2 weeks were really difficult time for me, but like the end is in sight, and I'm feeling happy and positive, having a good night tonight, and excited to be here with some great friends. And so that being said, joined by two of my favorite people. Let me start out with Hydralisk. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing awesome, coming at you guys from the greater Vancouver area, and it's been a bit of a week, but I always look forward to this time, and it's great to see you guys, and it's just always a pleasure to talk some games and good times with my buddies. So I'm happy, man.
Absolutely. I'm seeing you're looking at the show notes. You're supposed to be hissing and screeching. That's not what I...
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. I feel better now.
Is that better?
It's much better. And welcome back, my great friend, Electric Sheep City. How are you tonight?
Meowdy, friend. I'm doing really well this evening. Had a long week, learning a whole bunch of new stuff for my still fairly new to me job. So a lot of fun, a lot of work, learning all the stuff. But like you said, positive stuff, positive vibes. Ready to spread that positivity here too.
Oh,
let's go.
Very cool. Very cool.
Well, we haven't touched base with each other in a while. We've been getting right down to the meat of the show a lot of the time. So I thought tonight we could take a little bit of time and just see how each other's doing, whether it's in Hearthstone or in everyday life, or what have you been up to. It's been a little bit. So Nate, how are you doing? What's been going on?
Yeah, so I'm in a great mood tonight. I will say I think the last two weeks for me or so have been probably like the most challenging couple of weeks like in my professional career. Like the last 20 years, it's been crazy. And I don't really get into it a lot, but I'm kind of rounding out the week on a good note. And I'm excited to try to have fun, where I've kind of been down in the dumps a little bit and try not to let stuff get to me, but I recognize that that's kind of where I was at, and doing great now. So we'll see how things progress, but I'm doing pretty good. I have kind of gone down the rabbit hole of binging like true crime documentaries and like British police procedurals on like BBC stuff, and that's It's actually been kind of fun. I've been watching.
What led you there? How did you get to that point?
Well, so I for a long time was watching like nothing but like horror movies, and it was like, hey, this is kind of fun, but I got to a point where like, this is too dark. I need something different. And I never watch comedies, and I don't know why. I probably should. It'd probably make me a better person. But it was like I need a break from this. What else do I got? And I watched like 4 seasons of Luther, and I love that show. Idris Elba is super cool, and so I watched that, and then was like, well, okay, what do I watch now? And then I've been watching Shetland, which is another like takes place in Scotland or whatever, and that's been kind of fun. And or I'd want to be laddering and watching kind of something in the background. And I didn't want to watch something that I had to pay too close attention to, but something that I could, I don't know, maintain my interest. And I was like, like Netflix has a bunch of like really good like true crime documentaries that are like 10-part series. And it was, so nothing really new, but I kind of rewatched some, The Staircase and The Night Stalker and some of these. And it's been kind of, occupying my time. Probably should do something a little bit lighter would be maybe the healthy thing to do. But and then I've been playing Hearthstone. Maybe not as much as I would like. Work has been kind of crazy. I've been pulling a lot of extra hours the past couple weeks, but my goal this month for ladder climbing was to try to play fun stuff as opposed to going to a meta snapshot and saying, all right, what's tier 1? I'm just going to jam it. And so I've only been playing decks with new cards, and I've been losing a lot, but like it's been pretty fun. And so we can jump into some of those later. But that's been fun. And then this Mercs event happened, and I saw that it was time sensitive. It was like, oh no, it's only good for a short amount of time, and you can unlock this Merc and the portraits and a bunch of coins. I better do this. And so I could jammed like the entire thing out over like 2 days, and then realized that, well, there's still 12 days left to do the event. And, oh, oops. Well, but it's been casual. Found this dude by the name of Old Guardian on YouTube, who's got a bunch of videos that have been super helpful. The videos are like less than 5 minutes long, and so for somebody like me with a short attention span, like they're great, and those helped a lot. I think I have one task left to do, but that's been fun and just something a little bit different. And then the new Horizon game came out, Forbidden West. I haven't played it yet. I got it on day one. My son's been playing it. I haven't touched it yet, but hopefully over the weekend. And kind of just surviving. But I'm in a great mood. I'm so happy it's the weekend, and I'm happy to be here. So it's great to interact with you guys, to see you again, and we've got a fun match to cast afterwards, and things are kind of looking up. So yeah, I'm doing good. So yeah.
Sweet.
What about you, Sheep? What have you been up to?
Yeah. So let's see. Of course, I already kind of mentioned new job, learning all the new things. That's kind of based out of Mountain Time, right? So we're moving to Colorado before too long, which is very exciting. But that also means that I'm starting work here at 9 o'clock my time and finishing up at 6 o'clock my time. So that's kind of been a little bit of a preemptive time zone shift, truthfully.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you'll be ready.
Right? But so before work, I've been doing stuff to like get the house ready because, we own our house, so we have to sell it. The downside of that thing is that means that we have to, there are things that we have around that we really like that, just wouldn't show very well. Like you can see I've been dismantling Lego, they're not back there, all that kind of stuff. So it's just been a lot of kind of house prep stuff there. I started playing Horizon last Saturday, played it pretty much all of Saturday, and then haven't had any other time playing it because I get off work at 6 and then I eat and then I do house prep and then I pass out.
Being a grown-up kind of sucks sometimes.
Dude, right?
We don't always interact with chat on the show, but Goliath said, is Sheep going to become a mountain goat once he moves to Colorado? And I could not help myself but laugh.
That's great.
The Mountain Goats, good band. So as far as Hearthstone goes, I've been kind of playing a lot more casually right now than typical for a couple of reasons. It's towards the end of the month, so don't really have that kind of incentive to play. I'm not really pushing for a high ladder finish. Hit Legend a while ago in both formats. So I've kind of just been jamming the Mercs event a bit myself. Hadn't played Mercs in a while, and it's honestly, I think that I just burnt out on it, and this event is kind of pulling me back in because it's fun, and having like different challenges and stuff like that rather than just like grinding things to like grind it and grind it and grind it to get what I need is I think a really good shift in priorities and kind of shifting things there, which is making me enjoy it a lot more than just grinding a lot.
Same.
Been playing a little bit of ladder, but it's mostly just to kind of stay on top of my dailies and stuff like that. So that's kind of what's been happening around in my not flock pasture around here. How have things been going in your neck of the woods, Hydra?
Really good. I have been absorbing a lot of content recently. We've gone over the fact that I've been doing the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. I just today finished the 6th book, so I'm on to So that was Song of Susanna. So I'm
Yeah.
on to the final. And like, come on, I wait for the whole book for something to happen. And at the end, it's like, okay, it's happening. You can read about it in the next one. I'm like, wow.
Yep.
If I was reading this as they were coming out, I would have been so ticked because it just sort of ends with the thing you just read for hours upon hours is now happening. Next book. You can read about it then. And yeah, I'm just lucky that I can move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So it's the final, I'm on to the final book, which is just, I believe, entitled The Dark Tower.
Yeah. If it makes you feel any better, both Song of Susanna and The Dark Tower came out in the same year. So
okay.
if you were reading it as they came out, would not have been a long intermission there.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So yeah, I am on to The Dark Tower. I will be probably not starting that on the weekend, but most likely on Monday. And finally excited to get into the home stretch, the final. Though I'm doing it audiobook wise, and it's a 28-hour book, the final book. So it's a bit of a biggin, but I'm excited to see how it all wraps up because it has been quite the journey. And Sheep already knows, so he's patiently been waiting for how long have I been doing this? Like 5 months now, something like that.
Something like that.
And I'm so excited to hear how you like it. Oh my gosh.
I need to. I have them all. I probably should do that. I had struggling with the first one. My question is, what are you going to do after? Maybe The Witcher?
Okay, so yeah, perfect segue. Because I also on this past weekend finally finished The Witcher 3. So I did pick Witcher 1 for the most part until it was too glitchy where I had to stop playing and watch the YouTube videos till the end. I like 98%ed Witcher 2 because there was a couple things you couldn't complete with the enhanced edition. They had taken out some stuff so you couldn't. And then Witcher 3, I was trying, but I would be there for like 7 years if I was trying to 100% Witcher 3. So at a certain point, I decided to, all right, let's stick to the main story. And I jammed that out this last weekend and finished that. And I have not watched the Netflix series yet. So I was considering, hey, maybe it's a good series to get into would be the Witcher series.
Okay, it's really good. Let me give you two tidbits of advice because I when I played through the first couple of games, like I was really like it's super lore heavy, and so the books are good. The books are okay, like Schmoopy said. The first so there's 2 seasons on Netflix, and I have not watched the second one yet. But the first one is almost entirely based on the first book, which is a bunch of short stories, which is good. The one thing that I wish I knew going into season 1 of The Witcher is that they jump around in the timeline, but they don't tell you that they're jumping around in the timeline. And so it's like, what? Why is that? I thought that person, why did that? And so they skip around. It's kind of like when you watch Dr. Sleep and then you watch the director's cut, and like putting a big subtitle on the screen that says 3 years later, like fixes the entire thing, except they forgot to do that. Right. And so they do that, or they say, 6 months ago. And so the TV show jumps around a little bit, but they don't tell you that they're jumping around, and that makes it a little bit confusing. But if you read the book or listen to the audiobook of the first one, I don't remember what it's called, but I could get it to you. It has most of those stories in it from the various episodes, and you'll know that. That
makes sense. Yeah, like, what I've heard is those short stories that were written first don't actually come chronologically first. If you were going to read the books, you have to read the first couple novels that came later, and then the short stories sort of mix in as it goes, sort of thing.
They were okay. I mean, whatever order that they have them on in Audible worked for me, anyways. And yeah, the timeline is a little bit weird, but.
Yeah. Well, I think I am going to move on to that because I enjoyed it. I also think that it's really neat that throughout the games you have that decision-making power, and it changes what ending you get in the end. Like you can get, so no spoilers, but a coworker and me got 100% the complete opposite ending that you could get. Mine being way better.
Nice.
And like even Goliath, him and I talked about it, and we got nowhere near the same ending.
How funny.
Yeah, so it's pretty neat that way. And so I finished that on Sunday afternoon, and I was waiting for Elden Ring to come out. So I'm like, oh, what am I going to do till Elden Ring comes out? And I'm like, oh, I know that Horizon is out, Forbidden West, but I have not played Zero Dawn. So I grabbed myself Zero Dawn, and I jammed a bunch of that.
Oh, how do you like it? How do you like it?
I am loving it. The story right from the beginning is like it pulls you in. It's super gripping from the start. You automatically get an attachment to Aloy, the main character, like right from the beginning, and you kind of take things personally when you're playing it because the way you're being treated and whatnot. And I just think it's, I mean, by this point, most people have probably played it, but it's new to me. And definitely enjoying it. I did not get it on PC because on Steam it's $60 Canadian, and on the PlayStation, well, yeah, because it's newer to Steam, right? Like it was a PlayStation exclusive, and Sony has only recently started to put their games onto Steam. So, but on the PlayStation Store, it was only $14.99.
Wow.
Nice.
So, okay, $60, $15. Okay, maybe the frame rate's better on PC, whatever, I don't care. I will play the PlayStation original version.
Yeah, the story is so good. The story is so good in it. I can't... and it just gets better. Like, it expands over the course of the game, and it's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
The very, very, very little ending of it, I thought was like
la 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 la.
I won't spoil it. No, I won't spoil it. It's very good, and I'm really interested to see where they pick up in the second one.
Yeah.
But no, it's solid. I think that you'll have fun with it, and I would recommend it to anybody. And yeah, super good.
There was people at work actually talking today that have put in like 30 hours into Forbidden West.
I'm
already.
jealous. Wow.
And they're talking, and they're behind me, and I'm sitting there with my hands over my ears, like, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. Like, I haven't finished the first game. Stop talking about it. So if anyone hasn't played it, it's on sale on the PlayStation Store right now. I highly recommend. I just hopped into it and automatically love it. So it's pretty cool. And then last night, because I had pre-ordered Elden Ring, I started playing that last night, because what I didn't realize was launch date was the 25th in Japan. So it officially actually came out for us here all the way on the West Coast of North America, that it was actually out on the 24th at 3 p.m. So after a few challenges, I got it going. There's some issues with like the controller compatibility and some download issues and whatnot. But once I started playing the game, holy Elden Ring, it looks great. It's definitely a Souls game. It is super punishing, but it's really, really cool. Like, I already got stuck. I entered a dungeon, and there's a boss door, and I go through the boss door. I'm way underpowered. The boss destroys me every single time, but I drop my souls. But in Elden Ring, they're called runes. And so I drop them when I die, and I have to go back in there to get them, right? But there's no exiting unless you win. So I played this boss like 20, 30 times, and to no avail. Like, so I have to abandon everything, like all the runes that I've earned, but that's fine. It's kind of like cut your losses, I suppose.
Wow.
And go elsewhere. I realize that I have gone the wrong way Like, I haven't even earned my mount yet or found the map. Like, I don't even have, like...
Oh, wow.
Like, you're supposed... That's, like, the first couple things you do is, like, you get your world map so you can fast travel and you get your mount and everything. Like, I just went the other way. Into a dungeon and versing a boss by accident.
It looks so cool, but like I hate the Souls. The Souls games are so hard that like I just couldn't get into them because I was like, I want to have fun, and like dying super easy is not fun. And it looks so cool, and I saw so many people looking forward to it and wanting to play it day one and all that. I saw Ixar post today on Twitter, like the amount of people, suddenly getting sick and like taking a sick day on the day that Elden Ring comes out is laughable. Like, he phrased it better than that, but like that's pretty funny. But I don't know. Like, I want to have fun, but I don't want it to be so hard that it takes the enjoyability out of it. And that's where I was with the Souls games. My brother played them all, and he loved them. He's like, you need to play this, and even the one that's in the same family, but not a Souls thing. That's like,
Bloodborne.
Yeah, Bloodborne. Oh my goodness, I was so one of my buddies. Hey, you need to play this. It's like the best game ever. It's my favorite game. It's like, oh, okay, I'll go buy it. What is it, $10 or $20 at GameStop, and it's like, all right, I'll check this out. And I installed it, and I die within the first like 3 minutes, and I was like, what just happened? and like it was so unenjoyable for me. Like, this looks cool, and the story is kind of interesting, and I like the concept of it. And then I die again. It was like, all right, nope, I'm done with this. I'll watch it on YouTube.
You would have been done definitely. I got destroyed by that boss I'm stuck in instantly. Like, the first hit was 80% of my life. I'm like, oh, I got like one swipe in and then I was dead.
Wow.
I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
And I
And
tried
swipe
it.
only costs 4 mana.
Right? Yeah, so I don't know. But I also think I was extremely underpowered. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna keep playing it. The environment looks really cool. You can see for days, like when you're looking into the distance, you can see all the stuff going on, and like it's almost like, oh, is that just a background? It's like, no, that's playable area. You'll get there. You can play on that stuff. Just like way off in the distance, and yeah, the enemies are big, and it's all fantasy, right? It's really neat. So I've definitely been enjoying that. However, this weekend seems to be the last weekend of ladder, and I've got a lot of ladder jamming to do because I've been, like I said, I've been doing I dedicated the last like 2 months to Witcher's games.
Right.
And then I have been playing just all the RPGs, and then I go and look, and normally I level up, 3 accounts, like rank all the way up, and I'm like, oh no, I have a lot of work to do. I've basically been clearing quests, making sure like that's all good, and now I've got a weekend of ladder grinding.
Yes.
Up, so.
Well, that's me as well, because it's like I typically, it's like week 1 I'll try to jam out Legend, and just work has been so crazy, and now I'm looking at it, I'm like, wait a minute, today's the 25th. There's 3 days of ladder left. Like, I know what I'm doing this weekend. I hit Diamond 10. I'm almost to 5, but like waiting until the last minute. Now I'm stressed about it.
And it's not as easy as it used to be, because you used to be able to, because now it's MMR based. Before it was rank based. So waiting till the end of the month was kind of fine before, because you would just be versing other people if you're sitting down at the time, say like rank 15 or whatever. You could just verse them, and it almost seemed like picking on someone that like lower rank.
Yeah.
No, but it's not the same anymore.
No. But I mean, whatever. So I'll be around playing lots of Hearthstone this weekend. That's the goal, anyways. So
yeah, so that's basically been everything I've been up to.
Very good, very good. Well, it's good to hear from everybody. I mean, I know we chat a lot, throughout the week, and that's a lot of fun. But it's good to be able to do it on video or whatever, where we're actually talking instead of just chatting. It's pretty good to catch up. So I love it.
Absolutely. Well, for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome aboard. You kind of got to know us a little bit. But I'll briefly explain how the show itself works. So we record the podcast live every Friday evening at twitch.tv/Born to Be Wild HS. And the video version of the podcast is then distributed to YouTube shortly thereafter. Audio versions are then posted to all the podcast apps too. So however you're watching or listening or absorbing via osmosis this podcast today, thank you. Yes. You.
I got to do that last week. It was fun.
It was great. It was so great. Yeah, and just as a quick housekeeping plug, so a big shout out and big thank you to Shokun and any other patron of our show. We really appreciate your support. It really means the world to us, and we appreciate you very much. So thank you all. Thank you to everyone who's here watching live and interacting with us in chat as well. It's wonderful, and we appreciate you. If you are looking for a way that you are able to support us, any of our videos on YouTube, if you can like, comment, subscribe, that helps us. That helps with the YouTube analytics and the algorithms to help other people find us. And same thing with if you're listening to this on an audio podcast and you're looking to support for free, something that you can do super quick is to leave a review on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or iTunes, or whatever other podcast platform that you're using, and also that helps other people find us. If you are watching on Twitch, we do have some emotes that you can unlock by subbing to the channel. If you're interested in donating money, we have a Patreon for as little as $1 a month that you can contribute. And then finally, if you're interested in interacting with us personally, we are very active in Discord. We've got a Discord channel with a bunch of people, and we have a lot of fun there. We share all kinds of deck lists and conversations and memes and all kinds of stuff. There's a channel there with funny usernames, and I saw there's one Schmoopy Daddy posted. The name is Judas, and then it says priest under it. It's so funny. I mean, like, me telling this is like, it doesn't do it justice, but gosh, it's great to see these. And
I really hope that Schmoopy rammed that Judas Priest down.
These are great. Yeah, there's one. I said, Schmoopy Daddy. I found one called Win Daddy. It's Schmoopy Daddy, who names their child Win? He's like, well, I would spell it Wynn, but it's there's good times. I'm not doing it justice, but if you're interested in interacting with us, that is the place to do it. It's a lot of fun, and there's no cost associated or anything. All the links to all that stuff can be found on our website, which is borntobewildhs.com. And yeah, excited to interact and hang out with people. So anyways, yeah, that's it for the Housekeeping Hydra. Any news? No,
we don't have anything specifically wild. We do have, just as a reminder, the Wild People Choice Awards that Blue Train has put together. That is still coming up on March the 4th. That the results will be going over. Nate, are the polls still open for that, or have they been closed?
No, they are actually. They're still open now. There's not a lot coming in, but there's already been, I think, over 450 votes come through, and yeah, they're still open. So if anyone's interested in checking that out, there's a real quick, like a 1 minute, maybe it's a 30-second video. There's a link to it in our show notes, and I'll post it here in chat as well. And then there's a survey that you can take. The voting takes maybe a minute. Yeah, anyone that wants to check it out, it's super cool. And so big shout out to Blue Train for putting it together. And the idea is just to, kind of like we do here on the show, spotlight members of the wild community. And, I think I'm honored that we're featured on there, in one form or fashion. And there's a lot of other great people. I voted. It's pretty cool. It only takes a minute. And yeah, we'll be hosting it on next week's show. So that'll be really fun. We'll be joined by Blue Train, and we'll break down the winners of the survey, and I think we've got some fun things in store for next week. I mean, but
it only takes a minute if you are confident because there's a couple things like when it was like there is a few where I was torn on, and it was very difficult to pick. But I mean, if you're set in your ways, it's super quick. But there's some stuff like the best wild
Podcast. You had a hard time with that one.
no,
Shame.
hands down, we know we know which one that one is. Born to be Wild, but no, like streamers that meme and stuff like that. There's a lot of good ones. You know, there's Dane and there's Raffle and there's Swag.
There's really good ones, yeah.
Like there are. I mean, we've got Keith Numbers, who's done listener decks, who's climbed with.
Oh, it's great. There's so many good people. There's
some tough choices, but in general, it's like 15 questions you have to do, something like that.
Yeah, and it's multiple choice. So it's great. You can't.
If you decide not to vote in one of them, you can also abstain from voting there if you just can't make your mind up as well. So don't delay. Vote today.
Yeah, but that's basically it for wild news. There's not much else. There is those Merc quests if you're into the mercenaries mode. If you're trying to get the new, I think it's a legendary, the Chi Ji or Chai Jai. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but it's the new Merc if you want to complete those quests. I know you guys have been doing that. I have not dove into it because I have made a grave error that I realized, because you need to do these in Alterac, and I have not played Mercs in a long time and have not done the Alterac stuff. And so I'm like, oh no. Yeah. I have not even unlocked all the Alterac stuff.
Yeah, without having all of them unlocked, there's ways, and I don't know that it's hard. I remember early on, like we had rushed to max out all of these Mercs, and then once they started like slow drip releasing them, it was like, And I remember when Edwin and Smite and Cookie came out, it's like, okay, all right, I'll do these, and it was kind of a chore because I just finished all the rest, and then they were dropping like one at a time. Oh, here's Sky Captain whoever, and it was like, I'm not doing this. Nope. I'll do it later. and you know, little bits and pieces here and there. I'll throw them in the back of a party so that they level up. But like, leveling is the easy part. It's the coins and the tasks that take forever. And you can do it. Like, we found. I think Sheep and I found a way to max out Mercs with coins on battle number 2 in the Barrens, but it takes hours. I mean, I think if I could fully max out a Merc, but it's going to take me like 6 hours, and it's awful. And, I mean, if you're sitting on the couch watching TV or something and doing it in the background, like, okay, but it's still a chore. And so as these other ones have come out, like, I haven't barely touched them. And then, Hearthstone posts something like, oh, level up your beasts and dragons. Like, oh boy, here it comes. And then, sure enough, task number 8 for this, Chi-Ji, however you say it, is like, oh boy, you have to complete a heroic bounty with only beasts and dragons. I'm like, oh man, this is hard. It's doable, and thankfully there's some really great content creators that make videos on YouTube that offer tips. And I will say, they talk about budget options, but for me, what that means is like old Mercs that we already have. You can still complete the quest with those. Like, you don't have to use the new ones, which is nice.
That's good. Because I've maxed out, not them all, but 75 to 80% of the Mercs. So if I can sort of lean on those older ones to do them, they're maxed. So
yeah, you should be able to. I was kind of in the same position that you're in now, a Hydra. So like, I had played through not the heroic, but all of the Blackrock Mountain that was available on release, in regular. And then when they kept on releasing content in Blackrock Mountain, I just wasn't really playing the solo adventure there, grinding those coins or anything. So whenever the event came up, I was like, oh, well, I have to finish grinding out, or not really grinding out, but finish playing through Blackrock Mountain to get into Alterac, and that was honestly probably like not necessarily the most time consuming, but almost the most time consuming part.
I feel
was
better
just
that
getting
you
through
had to
there.
do it too, because now I know because I'm like, oh crap. There's like at this point, what, 10 days left, and I have to finish that.
Nah, yeah,
Yeah,
you
there's
can
still
do it
10
because
days.
we jammed the bulk of it out in over like 2 days. It's doable.
Yeah.
And some of them are relatively quick. Actually, by the time anyone's getting to them now, the first couple days, a lot of them were bugged, and so if you were you fulfilled all the requirements, but you took a boon or you fulfilled all the requirements and you hit a mysterious portal or whatever, like it would invalidate your earnings or whatever. It's like, I did this. Why didn't it give me credit for it? Oh, it's a bug. And so you would have to go through the whole thing avoiding all boons and all portals. And now you don't have to worry about that because they pushed through a hotfix yesterday.
Oh, sweet.
Or was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Anyways, it's in.
I did not know they pushed through a hotfix. I've been like re-rolling things to avoid
Oh,
those
no!
when I'm playing on my lunch break today.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so there's a hotfix for a bunch of stuff. The only reason I know this is because I have Nick. I don't do this for that many people, but I have notifications on because he's so good at sharing updates. That
Really
yeah, so there was a bunch of stuff come out yesterday for hotfixes. Yeah, server side hotfixes for a handful of things. Some of them were Mercs. I think there was some Battleground stuff, but I haven't touched on that. By the way, speaking of Battlegrounds, Yogg, yeah, I was gifted by Yogg responded to my my request, whatever it was, and it was pretty funny. Hearthstone, the other one.
You requested to complete the Rod of Roasting quest.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
believe.
So
Yeah.
the only, I think the only two accounts that I have on like send me notifications, push notices. The other one is play Hearthstone because when there's something new, like I want to know what it is. And they tweeted and I looked at it and it's Yogg is like, tell Yogg the Supreme what you wish for and maybe it will happen. It's like, oh, okay. And it's like, I wish to complete, almighty Yogg, I wish to finally complete the Rod of Roasting quest. And Yogg replies like, God, I'm going to, I should just read it. It was like, if you
It
would.
sounded kind of thirsty, truthfully.
It was, yeah, the ridiculous hat's response to it. I said, I wish to finally complete that Rod of Roasting achievement. Please, almighty Yogg, smile upon me. The response is, you could devour the world if you only checked your DMs. It's like, oh my gosh.
I guess it's more hungry than thirsty. But
That's so funny.
That's
I
great.
gotta love it.
So Yogg DM'd me a code for some free stuff. That was fun. So, anyways, that's been it's just, they're just joking around. It's goofy and I always like when they do silly stuff though. It's great.
It's fun. I love that interaction. They don't have to do stuff like that.
No,
Right,
and that's
like-
it's fun when they do. I don't know.
And they've been doing a lot more things kind of like that, just kind of engaging in general, but then also kind of rewarding the engagement in a way that is still playful and fun and like actually makes people want to engage with the content too, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that.
Actually, I love these we're having an off-topic night if anyone couldn't tell. The portraits, these new portraits, the cosmetics for Battlegrounds, the celestial ones. Oh my goodness. If I could just have celestial the cat one, whatever it's called, Mr. Bigglesworth, like just for everything, that would be great.
Looks so good. They all look so good.
They're so cool. So
Yeah, that like celestial, like blue with the stars is one of my favorite aesthetics. In Sea of Thieves, the other game that I play, they came out with like a ship set and a different pirate outfit, all in that same kind of celestial theme, and I had to pick that up too. So it's just like anytime you get that kind of option, it's just like that just resonates with me so hard.
Yeah. Well, good times. So we had a question from Discord. I think that was a good question that we could hit on before we go too far down a rabbit hole. But it was a good question, and it essentially was, how do I phrase it? It was like, how do you get into the mentality for ladder grinding? And I think it was more of like, I've already hit legend, but I want to climb ranks in legend, and what sort of mentality do I need to have for that? But the bigger picture question, I think, is mentality in general and ladder climbing, and y'all have any advice for how to do that? And that's a very good question. It's we could talk about this for hours, but it's a good question, and I think I don't know that there's a simple answer to it. I think there's different things for different people. But you want to be having fun with the game, I think is kind of one of the big ones. And so, we ask ourselves a lot of times, like, how do you have fun in Hearthstone? Well, that's a loaded question, right? Is it, or it's different things for different people. Do you like playing fun decks, or do you like winning, or you like climbing, or do you like, winning is fun? Like, oh, you're supposed to have fun when you play this game? Wait a minute. And, I had to think kind of long and hard about it, because I was like, I don't know. I've been avoiding laddering because I just want to have fun. And when I play, like, and I want to rank up, like, I have to get into like serious mode. And I don't want to do that right now. It is a good question. I think that there's I don't even know where to start. Let me pass it over to Sheep. I'm sure that you could probably say something more eloquent than I could.
I don't know about that much, but I think you were going down a really good path in the, particularly in regards to different people have different priorities when it comes, well, in general, but specifically here, when it comes to goals in Hearthstone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first kind of thing that to me you kind of want to do is to identify what your goal is, right? Because if all you want to do is to have fun, play, decks that resonate with you, that you really like, that you have fun playing, sometimes that means that you don't win as much. And as long as you're kind of going into it with, oh, my goal is to have fun, that may mean that my win rate isn't necessarily stellar. As long as you know what your goal is and you're pursuing that goal, then that's one thing. And honestly, casual's a blast for that. I love casual because I'm not playing against the tier 1 decks and I get to have fun there. But if your goal is to kind of climb up the legend ranks, that's a different goal, right? Like you play different decks and your approach to that game kind of there is different too. So identifying what your goal is there is definitely kind of a first step. And so I think the question is kind of more about climbing the legend ranks kind of once they're already there. And a big part of that is kind of mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're playing tilted, let's be real, you're not playing as best as you could, and you're not having fun because you're not playing your optimal. You're not playing optimally, and whenever you're kind of ticked off and just not in a good mood, you're typically more dismissive of and
Well,
you're just not playing as well.
and at that level, I mean, when you're hard pushing for ranks, you get punished for, like, you'll make mistakes. If you're playing tilted or distracted or whatever, like, you'll make mistakes, and at those levels, like, you get punished for your mistakes. And so playing quickly, not great. Playing when you're in a bad mood, not great. Playing distracted, not great. And so again, different things work for different people. It's like learning styles, right? Some people are audio, some people are visual, some people need a distraction, whatever it is. But like, find out what works for you. Don't play when you're upset. If you need to take a break, or I think it was Hat said, hey, if you lose 2, that's one thing. Like, you lose your 3rd one in a row or something, like, go take a break. And like, you don't want to get tilted because it'll just get worse. And I remember back before there were rank floors, like, Hydra, I'm sure we talked about this before, right? Like you're sitting at like, rank 5 or rank 2 or something, and they go boop all the way back to 15 or 20 or whatever it was. Like those times were awful. I've been there before.
I've learned since then, because I have done that many times where you've made the journey and then you tank all the way back down. And it's since then, I've learned, don't just hit the button again. Whenever I'm getting close to whatever goal it is, like, let's say your goal is to hit platinum for the first time, right? Or hit diamond for the first time, diamond 5, legend, whatever it is. Whenever you get close, or whenever I would get close, I just kept hitting the button, right? Whenever I was trying to get through those ranks, with the first time you're hitting rank 5, the first time you're hitting legend, and I get stressed out. I get ladder anxiety. And so what I've learned to do is, when I can tell that that's happening, I walk away from my computer. I give it a minute. I go talk to my wife. I tell her about my stupid match that she probably doesn't care about.
She's like, "Oh, Hydra, you drew patches again."
Oh, she heard me. She heard me for sure. If she hears me go, "Oh," she's like sitting there on the couch playing on her phone. What, you draw patches again? But the ability to just step away for a little bit and, just take a breather. Don't, like, especially if you've just taken a loss where you feel salty. If you hit that button, guess what? You're probably going to lose the next game, right? Because you're not in the best mindset at that point in time. So think about your match. If you have the ability to go back, and if you have HS Replay or Firestone, you can watch the match. You can see maybe where you have made a mistake, because sometimes there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
But other times there where you played into their board clear or whatever it is. One thing that I like to think about if I am trying to reach a certain goal is, all you need is more than 50%. It can be 51%. It can be 52%, right? So if you're playing throughout the month and you're just playing regularly, you honestly only to win slightly more than you lose, and you will meet your goal, because that's just how it works. But if you're going for legend, it's going to take you 300 games. But yeah, as long as you're winning slightly more than you're losing, you are going to get there. It's just patience. It really is. And mindset.
Yeah. And it's, it's easier said than done. I'll say that, but there's it just takes practice and knowing when there's like an emotional intelligence component, like realize when you're feeling salty, like take a couple minutes and calm down.
Yeah. I have an issue where, like, there's been times where I have these stellar win rates and I am doing just awesome and showing off my record. Oh, look how many wins I got. I'm like 80% win rate. This is awesome. And then when I get down to like a 55% win rate, like, I'm mad at myself. Like, oh, this sucks. I'm not doing good. It's like, actually, the game's kind of made for you to go 50-50. That's how it was designed. So you're actually still doing really well.
Yeah.
And you have to remember that. And I have a hard time remembering that myself.
Well, yeah. And for those of you listening, you won't see it on the screen, but like I'm not a Star Trek person really, although Next Generation and Deep Space Nine are pretty rad. But I love this quote that says, like, it is possible to commit no errors and still lose. That is not a weakness. That's life. And I think that applies to this game very much so, where it's like, I don't know. I was all salty last night. I'm sitting here playing this druid. I've got 30 health and 70 armor, get OTK'd by an Ignite Mage on turn 8. And it's like, there's nothing I could have done. There's just not. Okay. And I was so salty. But, like, could I have done anything differently? I don't think so. But you have to be aware, number one, that, like, Could I have played it differently? Maybe not. I don't know. Or you just have to be okay with it. And it's like, well, I can't do anything to change it now. These conversations come up at work sometimes when it's like something goes wrong, and how are we going to deal with it? Like, we could spend a bunch of time sitting around and pointing fingers. Well, whose fault is it? Like, it doesn't really matter, because nothing we do now is going to change it. So where do we go from here? What can we do to improve? What can we do to make sure it doesn't happen again? Could I do anything differently? But like perseverating on the loss, like it's not really beneficial. I like
Blame storming is fun.
Yeah, and except when you're the one being blamed. Speaking
You
from
just have to keep on
experience.
storming.
Hey. So yeah, I mean, this is maybe a simple answer to a complicated question, but there's a lot of mindset involved. A lot of mindset involved for sure.
Definitely. And outside of just mindset, because, like the quote that you brought up kind of intimates, possible to commit no errors and still lose. Sometimes, you just lose, but sometimes what you're queuing has an impact on your win rate as well. Because, whenever, in every single game of Hearthstone, someone wins and someone loses. There's a global 50% win rate, period, because of that dichotomy, right?
You mean my Reno secret Galakron dragon rogue might not be I might lose to Pirate Warrior?
But it also might win.
But it's fun. And there's a
Exactly.
component to like, it goes back to like, what do you want to get out of this? And so, my goal over this past week was like, I want to play fun decks that have new cards. And I realized that if I do this, like my win rate is going to be lower because number one, I'm learning these and know like, hey, when you're learning a deck, you're not going to be doing as well than with a deck that you like know back and front. But number two is like, well, this is, either this is new or this is not tested or it's not optimized or it's a tier 4 deck or, going into tier 1 Pirate Warrior type decks. And like, it's probably just not going to do as well. And if you know that going in, it's like, well, the loss is more palatable than it would be like, I don't know, if then, if you're running some tier 1 thing and still losing, like it's frustrating. And I think you just have to set some reasonable expectations as well. I remember like Hydra was saying that, looking at a 55% win rate and feeling bad about it, but I've seen pro players do, legend climbs or whatever it is. And it's like, hey, what was your win rate percent? 55, 56%. It's like,
Yeah.
okay. It's like, that's a positive win rate.
And they see that, they see that, right? They understand that at that, like that's actually, you are somewhat efficiently climbing. You are going up, right? And that's just something that you need to recognize that you are in the plus, you are not in the minus.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, I've had months where my win rate was stellar, like in the, I don't know, high 70s, low 80s, and like, whoa, okay, that's crazy. And then I've had times where like, gosh, when I had 11x and it was like I hit legend with like 45% or whatever it was, and like that's terrible. Like that's rough, but a lot of it is just trying to stay calm and not get irritated and play the best you can. Some of the best advice I got, and this is years ago at this point when we were doing Into the Wild, was from Robot Nanny, who hit legend with playing at the time. I think it was like a Malygos Druid, and I don't remember what the combo was back then. It's different than it was now, but was like, how did you hit legend with that? Like, it's complicated and it's time consuming, and he's like, look, my goal was to learn to play the deck correctly. I want to learn this deck, learn the ins and outs, learn what I'm looking for and what the matchups are, and learn how to pilot this deck. And my goal is not to hit legend. My goal was to learn this and to learn it well and to get good at it. And then hitting legend was like just part of the process because I was winning games. And so it's oftentimes the mistake that I see new players fall into is like, yeah, I'm gonna just, net deck, some top tier deck, and then I'm just gonna automatically win with it. And it's like, well, that's not how it works. And of course, some decks are easier to pilot than others. I mean, cough, Pirate Warrior, cough, but like, not all of them. And
right.
even there, it's like, well, learning the interactions and learning like, hey, Dirty Rat is a card, and so even things
you need
like,
to know your meta. But yeah, when stuff comes to that, like, don't complete your quest if you can't play Rokara.
yeah, I mean that, and a lot of times, like any of the quest decks, it's like, hey, you better be careful, sitting with the quest reward in your hand that might not be there for long. And so there's a lot of learning involved, and I think if the approach that I would take is like, you're your biggest competitor, your own biggest competitor. So if the goal is to improve yourself, you'll get there. Learn the deck, learn your meta, learn your matchups, learn the interactions. A lot of the decks are more nuanced than they look at first glance, and so that will force an improvement that you may not see otherwise. So
Absolutely. Well, and the global stats are an indicator of how well you are learning and piloting a deck, but every single game that you go into is kind of its own, you don't go into the game, an individual game. Hearthstone doesn't go, well, you've got a 70% win rate right now, so we're going to give you an unfavorable, right? Like that's not there. The technology that would be required to make that happen.
I mean, they say they don't do it, but but every time I queue a Pirate Warrior, I face into Cthulhu Druid, so I don't know what you're talking about.
They're not going to invest dev time into that. No. Absolutely not.
We don't remember those. We don't remember all the, like, you're at 75% win rate, right? You're doing awesome. You don't remember all those wins, but you remember when you get queued into the wrong matchup.
Yeah. There's a logic fallacy there, and I don't know what it's called, but it exists. Was it like perception fallacy or something? That's like you remember the bad experiences, but you don't remember the good ones. Right. And so it's that's definitely a thing. The other piece, I think, like Sheep was talking about with percentages, for people like me, we'd ever use Hearthstone Deck Tracker. I don't empty out my decks very often, and it remembers like global stats, and so I'll pick up a deck that I haven't used for a while and I'll play it, and I look at it and it's like, you've got a 55% win rate with this or whatever it is, and then I'm regardless of whether I'm winning or losing, like that stat may be indicative of 300 games with this deck. And so if that's old, I think periodically you want to go through and just like delete all the old data so that it's refreshing and give you current data, or don't get caught up on it. I mean, at the end of the day, the number in the bottom left corner is just a number, and so some people will play with like a little sticky note covering it up or whatever. And you'll notice, like, you don't see your opponent's rank, and this is a relatively new thing. Like, you don't see your opponent's rank now until after you hit legend, and so anything pre-legend, like, you don't know who you're facing off against, which is interesting. And I remember back in the day getting so intimidated, like, why am I queuing into a legend player? Or I'd see the legend card back and like freak out, or see a gold hero power and freak out, right? And what I say now I'm the one that does the freaking. But yeah, no, I mean, there's a big mental aspect of it, and even then, every single month, gosh, if I hit legend now for 20 plus months in a row, and it's like, every single time I hit a final legend boss, like, I get the nerves and the jitters and all this stuff every single time. And so, like, it always reminds me of that Toki quote, like, right, we meet again for the first time. And it's like, yeah, I always feel it. And it's like, oh no, here it goes. Am I going to win? Am I not? Is it a favorable? Where's my mulligan? Oh my God. And just kind of freak out. It's interesting. And it gets easier over time, but there's a lot of times, like, that's something that I think that's easier for some people more than others. I will say, like, the more you do it, the easier it gets, for sure.
Yeah.
But
And some matches end up feeling more important than others just because you're closer to a certain rank. When in essence they're all the same because they're all heading towards that goal. Like if I start off the month at the beginning, everybody starts off in bronze, and I draw patches. Whatever.
Hey, you know
Right?
what? Drawing patches is not as bad these days as
not,
it used
no,
to be, because now it counts for your quest if you play it from hand. It's like not even
But
bad anymore.
Now, if you draw Ankar, that's the really bad one.
Oh, or when you draw both. But like, there's no difference really in drawing it then and then drawing it at Diamond 2, right?
Right.
Because like it's still on the same journey. Either you won that game at Bronze 10 or you won that game at Diamond 2 or you lost one of those games. There really is no difference, right? But it's still that mindset. Oh, I was so close.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you know what happens to me, and I get so, this happened to me last month. I remember I was playing Shutterwalk Shaman or one of those, and like, I'm not legend yet, but I'm so close, like final boss or whatever. And I know, like, I'm not seeing the rank, but like, I know I'm playing like dumpster legend players, or people who are low legend, and like faced up against like the weirdest like Reno dragon paladin. I'm like, what the heck is this? And when I start seeing these weird cards, it's like, I have to win. This is terrible, janky, weird deck. But it's also very difficult to play around those because you don't know what's in their deck. You don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know what the game plan is. And then they drop some card that I'm just not prepared for. Like, I can't deal with that. Oh, hey, there's a 25/25 Shrivala with Wind Fury out of nowhere. What am I like? And like end up losing those type of games and getting all salty about it. And I don't know, you kind of have to just take a step back and be like, well, that happened. And move on. So yeah, so much of it is mentality. I see in the chat here, the idea of being frustrated when you copy a deck that's considered top legend and then you don't win that many games with it. And so, the advice that I would say is that, having access to the deck is one thing, but knowing how to play it is a little bit different. And oftentimes, like, when we were doing deep dives into decks, we wouldn't, one of the questions that we'd ask is like, what are the nuances of this deck? Or tell me about this deck. Like, what should I know about this deck that isn't evident just by looking at the cards in it? Is there certain interactions that I should be aware of, or certain matches, or certain mulligans, and then when you start learning about it, it's like, oh, well, if you play this into this, then it does that. And like, oh, I didn't realize. Okay, well, and a lot of that, unfortunately, is just putting a whole bunch of time into it, or reading about it. The other piece, I think there's a lot of really good resources available to us. And so, I think Blue Train and I talked about this not too long ago, or maybe it was NHL. It was like, hey, it's one thing to go to Tempo Storm and copy the deck list, but like, there's this whole giant article there that tells you how to play it. Like, probably want to read that. And I never, I never read them. Okay. I should be taking my own advice here, but like,
I'm a veteran. I know what I'm doing. I don't need to read it. I just bought this IKEA furniture.
I don't need the manual.
Let's throw out the manual. Yeah.
I'll never forget. It's that scene in Blair Witch. What do you mean you threw away the map? Like, oh, we didn't need the map. We just followed the river. Like, we've been following the river for 3 days. What do you mean you threw away the map? Like, you should keep the map. Okay. It's, and so I would say, you're trying to learn something. Oftentimes there's a lot of nuance to it that you wouldn't realize maybe, at first glance. And so, and know where your resources are is the other piece. And I think as a community-based show, you guys struggling with something, like ping somebody on Discord or whatever. Like, I don't know. I've been wanting to do deck guides for ages, and the time is the difficult piece of it. But like, very often there's so much more to a deck than meets the eye on first glance.
And reach out in the Discord if anybody wants to co-op, because there's a lot of people that really enjoy co-oping. We all do it. Blue Train likes to co-op. There's a lot of people that do co-ops, and sometimes you don't know. I co-opted with NHL multiple times, and he showed me how I had a positive win rate with Questline Odd Hunter, and I was playing it a certain way, and he's like, you may have a positive win rate, but you're playing it wrong. Like, this is how you play it. And I'm like, okay, well, now my win rate's better. As I blush.
That's great. That's great.
Right? Like,
Well, yeah.
there's a lot of people that are there that if you're not, getting, or you just, you want to have a good time and maybe get a little bit of coaching or just some co-op, there's plenty of people that would like to do that.
Honestly, sometimes it's just the moral support aspect of it too. It's like, hey, I don't need somebody to backseat drive, but like if I'm looking for somebody to keep me company, that's helpful too. And
yeah, pressure's kind of almost seems off. Like, I used to think that I'd be, embarrassed if I lose when someone's spectating or whatever. In fact, it's actually easier to lose when I'm playing with somebody else. I don't get salty like I would, because they'll reassure me like, hey, they had the perfect hand. There's nothing you could do. Next game, no big deal. Laugh it off. Move on to the next one.
I also don't like to like lose my temper or blow my top when like people are watching. If I'm gonna have salty and have like a little meltdown, like I'm gonna do it by myself. I'm not gonna do it if I'm if we're having this conversation. Like, I'm not gonna blow up. I mean, every once in a while, but very, very seldomly, and so it's kind of fun. But I think the other piece that I would recommend though is like my 2 cents on co-oping would be, if you want to co-op, use it as a learning opportunity. Like, I don't recommend, like, people shouldn't be playing for you. Like, don't just, if I'm going to do a co-op with someone, like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Oh, play this. Okay, now play this. It's like, let's talk it through. What do you think you should do? Why would you do that? Do you see or I would say, hey, I see 3 possibilities here. What do you see? And what do you think you should do and why? And that's how you learn.
It's so much less impactful to know what to do as to know why to do it. And once you know why to do it, that's whenever you actually start developing those skills and can actually apply that when you're not co-oping as well. So learning why is really important. And so whenever you approach a co-op, definitely have it be more of a conversation and kind of determining the why. And sometimes 2 very, very capable players at a certain deck will disagree about a line, and that's always really interesting. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we've sat through some of those for sure with, it's hilarious. But you get top level players, your top 10 legend players or whatever it is, top 100 legend, and sitting here on a call with people and have one of them say, I think this is right, and the other say, nope, I think you should do this, and it's like, well, choose one. And it's always interesting to see how it plays out. You couldn't
just have Fandral.
Yeah, no, that's always fun, and I think, but yeah, I mean, when people say that co-op is cheating, I don't think that that's true. I think co-op is a great learning opportunity, but it's not a place where I think that people should go to, like, just tell me what to do. Like, no, I want to learn. I want to learn from this. And the other thing I think is you have to be willing to accept that, you might be wrong, or that you need to learn, or that you need to, like, be able to take some criticism. Like, if I'm doing some coaching or whatever, like, I want to be able to say, well, why did you do that? And not that I'm going to be mean about it, but, like, explain the thought process, or why did you do that, or why didn't you do this, or did you see this other choice? And if you're not willing to accept that there are alternatives, then you'll struggle more with it than you maybe would otherwise. So that's my 2 pennies.
It's not more than 2.
It's exactly 2.
It's more than 2 Canadian, I think.
There was a time, but the time is not now.
Oh goodness. Well, I mean, there we go. We went sideways on some weird topics tonight. I think we've got some matches to host, so I don't want to divert us too much. I was talking. We were talking earlier in the show. I've been looking to play decks with new cards from the mini set, and so I kind of have a little side collection of those going. If anybody's interested, I mean, I don't mind tossing them in the show notes. They're in the Discord or whatever, but I can't do a deep dive into any of them anyways because I just started and I don't know if they're any good or not, but they're fun. So if people are interested in having a convo or reaching out, I can post that stuff on the Discord or in the show notes. But super fun. I've been, real briefly, Martian Boo is kind of my one of my favorite deck innovators, and so kind of a new version of Dragon Druid with some of the new cards. NHL's been working on like a hero power ping mage, but a wild version. It's actually pretty awesome. It's very, very fun. I don't know that it's 100% optimized, but it's getting there and it's super fun. Corb has been working on like a new quest hunter that doesn't use, it's not odd anymore. I think Baku is always the worst card in that deck anyways, and not doing 3 is a bummer, but some of the new cards are surprisingly good. Dragonbane Shot especially, and then being able to play Dragonbane in general that we haven't played in ages is like, it's kind of almost like a better version of Auction Master Beardo to some regard, which is super fun. I think Sheep was playing some. Again, I think it was probably Corb and NHL and Blue Train playing some aggro token Beast Druid and dusting off old cards like Knight of the Wild that we haven't heard or seen in like years and years that now are like super good. Is really fun. Beast Toasty. Yes, exactly. It is the funniest thing. I've been playing, actually, what I've been winning games with lately is an updated Reno Priest that it just has a couple new cards that I saw Martian post, and that's been fun. I could pilot that deck in my sleep, and trying it out with a couple of new cards is fun. And then I started seeing, like, there was a guide posted for Reno Quest Mage that nobody's seen in ages, and then our buddy Labore Sangre has been working up a new version of just regular good old Quest Mage, but with new cards. And so I've been experimenting. I really, really wanted to play with new stuff, and so that's kind of what I've been trying to force. I don't feel like I can do a deep dive quite yet, but my goal is to try to do the legend push over the weekend and then loop back next week on kind of what worked and what didn't. But if anyone wants deck codes and stuff, like, hit us up for sure.
Absolutely. Well, after the show tonight, we are going to be diving into our listeners series match between Jules and Martian Boo.
Woot woot.
So, yeah, very excited.
We're at top 4 now.
Yeah, we are in the semifinals. So, for those who may not be familiar with the listener series, it is the Born to be Wild listener series is a free Wild Hearthstone tournament series with custom deck building restrictions each week. So the main series itself lasts 5 weeks. That's the regular season, followed by 3 weeks of playoffs. We are in week 2 of playoffs. So Maxibon and Kinray already played their match. So Kinray was the victor there, and Kinray awaits the winner of tonight's match to determine who plays in the finals.
Let's go.
So tonight's match is one of each year submitted by Kay, and you may use one of each expansion/adventure from each Hearthstone year to build the decks. The expansion/adventures that you choose must be used across all 4 decks. And this one was a really, really challenging challenge, which is exactly why we waited for the playoffs to roll it out.
It's a hard one.
Congratulations on that win, Kinray. So if you're watching live, then we will stream the match right after the show. If you're catching us on the replay, Nate posts the casted match to YouTube as well, so check it out there. For additional information, as always, check out the website at borntobewildhs.com.
Woot. Yeah, exciting. It'll be a good match tonight. And yeah, now that we're this high up, the players are so good. I mean, they've been good the entire way, but like, it's exciting. And yeah, this was a hard one. So anyways, I'm always excited to watch these matches, and cast them is so fun.
Yeah, excitement abounds. So that is it in the listener series world. What about the weekly listener challenge, Hydra?
So last week's challenge was Black Dragonflight. And so Nate put this one together and he made a cool little graphic. Basically, the idea was, how many of these black dragons can you get on the board at the same time? And each one of these dragons was worth a set amount of points. So the big boy dragons were worth 10 points, and then we had the wee whelps and the smaller dragons that were worth the 2 points or the 1 point. So we ended up getting a very impressive submission from our one and only Goliath the Dwarf, who managed to get a Lady Prestor, an Onyxia, 2 different Deathwings, a Nefarian, and a Whelp, all on board. And we ended up getting a total of 72 points for the win.
With the Deathwing hero portrait as well. Good times.
Yes, Deathwing, that was the extra bonus. You got 20 points extra if you used one of the 2 portraits, and Deathwing was one of those. So Goliath runs away with this one. It's actually pretty impressive to get all those stats on the board, and somebody actually had an empty board too.
right?
Before Goliath managed to drop all these. So
well done. Yeah, that was tricky. So yeah, great work there. And yeah, there are some ways, Deathwing Dragonlord can help, but it's not easy, and still like that won't pull your Lady Prestor or some others. And so yeah, there's this could have gone several ways, but yeah, congrats. And I just love it from a lore perspective, everything we talked about last week, all of the stories, and then you see them all together on the board. That's a family portrait right there. So yeah, congrats, Goliath. Two packs on us, so let us know what you want, and we'll get them off to you. And actually working on a new kind of re-up version for what the kind of like trophy little things look like for the website, and that's been kind of fun to goof around with, yeah, I'm excited to get those posted up as well. I sent you guys the screenshot I think last weekend of the kind of prototype, and might tweak it a tiny bit, but I think it's pretty close. So excited to start using some new artwork as well.
Okay, so going into what our next week's challenge is going to be, since we've already discussed the fact that we do this listener series and we have all these different weekly deck building challenges within our listener series, we are going to continue to do these. So for the next season, obviously we're not there yet. We're in the finals of season 4 right now. But if you can make a submission as to a deck building restriction for our next season, we would like to see that, because we really do appreciate all of the different ideas that we get. And trust me, it's hard to come up with all of the ideas. So reaching out to the listeners really does help. So what we can do for this week's challenge is have the best submission from a listener, and we can have a vote. So everyone can vote on it, and we can see, what ends up being the best. But what you can do is you can obviously not do this in casual or on ladder, like normally.
It's a little different.
Or against the innkeeper, but you can post this submission in our weekly challenges channel on the Discord. Post your idea. We can vote on it. We can see who takes the win. If you would like a reference as to, how we kind of do these deck building challenges, you can view our spreadsheet in the Born to Be Wild listener series Discord, as we have had many of these challenges, or if you've heard us talk about them on the show. Enter your submissions, and we would just like to see the more creative ways to do these challenges for the listener series, because we like to have these matches where we are not seeing the decks that you are seeing, top tier decks on the ladder all the time. The beauty of this listener series is the fact that the decks are so creative and different every time, and diving deep into your collection is super neat. And it's just been a lot of fun doing this. So we want to see the best one that you can come up with. Post that in our weekly challenges channel in the Discord. The winner will be announced on next week's show, and you will receive 2 Hearthstone packs on us and be immortalized in the Born to Be Wild Hall of Fame on the website.
Love it.
Absolutely. So this one also has a really interesting voting perspective to it as well. So if you don't, well, even if you do, whether or not you are submitting a challenge idea, feel free, go into the weekly challenges channel of the Discord, see what all challenges are there, and vote. To vote, react to the challenge idea that you like with the Nas heart. That's one of our Born to Be Wild emotes. So with the heart in particular, that will be a vote. You can in fact vote on your own, but you can only vote once for your own. So do that thing.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Super cool. All right. Well, that kind of wraps up this week's show. It was really fun going off the rails a little bit and doing something different, having a more casual conversation tonight, and just be able to hang out with buddies and talk some wild Hearthstone and some, stuff that we don't normally get to do. And so it was an absolute blast. Again, hope that everyone is able to join us again next week for more wild content, or see where you can find us individually. Please check out our website, borntobewildhs.com. Tune in to next week's show. Again, reminder that next week we'll be doing live on the show, hanging out with Blue Train, doing the Wild People's Choice Awards, hosting that. And that'll be super fun. As one of our kind of core tenets of Born to Be Wild, love spotlighting members of the wild community, and that's what this event is all about. And so again, big shout outs to Blue Train, and please join us again next week while we'll be doing the Wild People's Choice Awards. That is a wrap from us. Job's done.
Excitement abounds.
Woo!
There it is.
There you go. And you heard that on Born to Be Wild.